Making headlines this week, new recommendations for getting mammograms starting at the age of 40. Western Mass News reporter Libby James getting answers from a Bay State doctor on what this means for early detection.
As breast imagers and people who specialize in the diagnosis of breast cancer have long stated, the most benefit, the most lives are saved by starting screening mammography at age 40.
The United States Preventative Services Task Force has come out with new recommendations that women should start getting mammograms at age 40, which is 10 years earlier than their previous recommendation back in 2016. But the new guidance is to get them every other year. Western Mass News spoke with Dr. Jennifer Hadro, a medical director at Bay State Breast and Wellness Center. She tells us this is a step in the right direction. However, the frequency of visits needs to be updated to advise women to be screened annually instead of every 2 years. Dr. Hadro adds it can be confusing for women because of the changing recommendations.
We breast imagers, the Society of Breast Imaging and the American College of Radiology have long maintained that women should start at age 40. We are in agreement about that, but that they should have annual screening mammograms.
According to the United States Preventative Services Task Force, screenings at age 40 could save 19% more lives. Dr. Hadro says more aggressive types of breast cancer typically start in women in their 40s. And if they catch it as early as possible, they have a chance to save more lives.
Women, even in their 20s, start having a discussion with their primary care providers because every woman's going to have a different history and have a different risk factor.
Risk factors include being a woman, lifestyle factors, dense breast tissue, and family genetic predisposition. Dr. Hadro adds, out of 100 women who get screened, only about 10 will come back for additional imaging. And out of that, a very small percentage would need a biopsy or a follow-up. Reporting for Western Mass News, I'm Libby James.
New at